Good morning, everybody, and welcome to this email session. This is a refresher session as requested by our care homes. Today, we're just going to go through the basics of the email system. So let's begin. Once you go onto the email system, you will see a screen like this. This will ask you for your password, your username and your short name. It's important that we don't share the passwords with any other members of staff. And if you forget your password, then speak to your home manager or contact yourself and I can reset the password for you. Once you've logged in, you should see a site that looks similar to this. This will be your home page. We use the home page to add announcements. So all members of staff that log into the system can actually see the announcement. So this is really important if we've got some information we want to share. For example, Helen has her patches on Friday, or the doctor has increased Helen's medication. Anything that's relevant we can put on here to help support new members of staff and also to give information about our residents. As you can see on the page here, there's a new user video, and I would highly recommend that people that are new to the system watch this video. The video takes about 10 minutes in all. It's a YouTube video and it's been put on by Medicare, who provide the email system to us. It just gives a really good but basic insight on how to administer medications and what the site will look like for them. While we're on the home page as well, we can actually change the photograph here just by this edit button. It's really lovely to see photographs of our homes at Halloween, Christmas, Easter, or our residents going out on a trip if we've got permission to have their photographs. I know some homes are really share some lovely photographs on the system. Over here, this is where we do add our new announcements. So to add a new announcement, we would just click on add a new announcement and fill in the tabs. So for example, I would click on here, I title it. I'm just going to put Helen. It's the description. Helen is okay. Here I can update it or I can change it. So again, if I only want it to stay on for a short period of time, I can change the time. So if it's something I only want on for a week, I can change the time here and then update it. And here we can see that information is on there. If we look at the top of the page here, this is where we can change our password. So again, all you need to do is click on your name and just fill in here. So your old password, your new password, and confirm any new changes. Okay. The system is really, really easy to use. We're going to go back to home. I always recommend that if you're stuck anywhere, always just go back to the home page. Over here on the right hand side of the screen, we have our support button. If we click on our support button, this will give us the Medicare telephone number and the support email number. Now, as you're aware, we have 24 hours a day, 7 days a week support from Medicare. You get through to a real person, not an automated message saying press 1, press 2, press 3. This is a real person that you're speaking to. And during office hours, you will get through to their support centre in Manchester. Out of office hours, you will get through to Canada. Also on this support page is all the training guides and PDFs that you would need. So if you wanted to learn how to print up a Mar chart, just type in here how to print off a Mar chart. Here it comes. You would click on that, and here we have the option to just print it on, put it in a PDF and save it. Okay, it comes on clear pictures, so again you can just follow the pictures all the way down, and again that's a really useful information. So that would contain absolutely anything that you want to do. Okay. Sorry, I've just logged myself out now. There we go. Okay, so that's the support button here. Again, if we want Medicare's help, they can remotely access our screens here. They will ask if they can do that. And again, if you're struggling, they can come on and log onto the site and see exactly what's wrong. Here we have our log out button. And again, it's important to remember that when you've finished administrating your medication, you've done all your checks, that you log out. Okay, so that's the home page. We're going to have a look along the green line, as I call it, and the next thing on the green line is our dashboard. So once I've logged in, I can change my password. I can write any announcements on the home page. I'm going to now go to my dashboard. It's really important that every member of staff, once they log in, configures their widgets and sets up their dashboard. Now, we have decided as a rule there are 5 things that we need to see. So to add those to our dashboard, we just click on add. We need to see new admissions. We need to see low stock warnings. We need to see expiring orders, and there are our short course medications. So we need to see when they're going to expire. We need to see overdue orders, and these are our orders that are missing signatures, really. People get a little bit confused, and I have asked Medicare to change it to missing signatures. The overdue order is missing signature. And then also we've got orders waiting to be received. Every time any of the staff now log in, they should see their dashboard, and here, as you can see, it's telling me that I've got medication here. I've got no stock. Here, I've got these overdue orders, which are our missing signatures. I've got nothing expiring. And here, I've got these medications waiting to be booked in. So we're going to look at booking in a few minutes' time. It's important that we go back and amend these missing signatures, okay? And to do that, you can either just click on to the resident and it will take you back to the 26th of the 10th, and it will show those missing signatures for you. What we have to do is we have to document it as being given or not given. If we don't do that, we will have missing signatures on our Mar charts, and our stock levels will also be wrong. Again, the system's telling us that we've got low stock. It's important that we go on to the system and again acknowledge if this is correct. So we would do a stock check against the physical stock that we've got in the home against what the system thinks we have. If we look at these low stock warnings, these are all for penicillin. So I would imagine if this was real, that these would be a short course. So I would click on, if there is no stock and the course has been completed, I would document it as course completed and discontinue it from the system. So we've now gone onto our home page. We've now configured our widgets on our dashboard. And once, as I said before, once we've done this, this will always be set up for us, but it's important that new members of the team always configure their dashboard. The next thing on the green line is EADT. This just means admission, discharge and transfer. So this is where we would go if we were adding a new resident or discharging a resident. We go just here on the current admissions and we click on the current admissions. It will list us all the residents that the system thinks that we have in our care setting. So here we have their name, we have their chart number, we have their NHS number, the day they were admitted, their bed, and if they're admitted or not. The things that we need to focus on is obviously their name and checking that they have an NHS number. If the NHS number isn't there or it is incorrect, they won't receive their prescriptions from the pharmacy. To add a new client, you would click on EADT, Admissions and Discharge. Here, admit a new client. This template will now appear for you. And all we need to do in the first instance is fill in the areas with this red asterisk. So their first name, their last name, the gender, the birth date. And down here, it's important that we put NHS. And then here at the healthcare number, we put their NHS number in. The client health status is where we would add any allergies. Because we know it's a legal requirement that all more charts have an allergy status on there, even if it's unknown. And here is where we would add any illness or disease that the resident would have. So if they've got heart disease, if they're diabetic, that would go in this information here. When we filled in the information, this tab here will go red. And that's because it's asking us for a signature. And what we have to remember, one thing about this system is that it will always ask for a signature. We scroll down to the bottom of the page, and here in this left-hand corner will be an area that will ask you to sign for admitting the resident. When we admit them here. We don't go on pre-admit, we just go on admit. And the resident will then appear in our current list. To discharge a resident, it's very similar. This time we just go on discharge. A list of all your current residents will appear. You can either search for the client by putting in their details here, or you can go down the list and click on their name. Once we've clicked on their name, you will see here the photograph of the resident for their details, the admission date, and this area here is where we will discharge them. The resident has passed away, we just click that box. Or we can choose this, where we can say they've discharged because they're not expected to return, or they've discharged and the return is anticipated. So this is ideal for your respite people. You don't have to keep adding them on. You can put that they are expected to return. You can add a note here to give more detail. And then again, the bottom left-hand corner, you can tick this box, drop-down box appears, we would click that, and then here on the right-hand side, we would discharge our client. What it is important to remember is that before we discharge our resident, that we put all their medications back into returns, and we will look at that in a moment. So we're going to go back to our home page. Here's our home page. So we've now looked at adding an announcement, changing our password, the support button, changing a photograph. We've then gone onto our dashboard where we have configured our widgets, and we can then check all our information. We've gone on to EAD2, which stands for admission, discharge and transfer. And as we've just discovered, this is where we add and discharge or transfer our residents. The next button that we're going to look at is our e-reports. The system is only as good as the information that we put in it, and as we know that we want to go away from paper, we click on e-reports and we have this drop down here. We would click onto medication. What you can now see is all the reports that we are able to pull on. The most important in these, in my opinion, is our suggested orders. Now Boots want us to send these back to them. We have our medication march chart, individual, and we have the whole home medication record. So if you need to print off the whole home, is where we would do it. We've also got our returned and destroyed. So how do we print off a march chart? We would click on the individual. We would choose our resident by going into the looking glass. We can see now that we have her number and her name there. We can then choose the time frame. So this is going from the 1st of the month to the end of the month. Now what's really good about this is when we have discharged a resident, if they've been on the system, that information will stay on the system. So if there's an investigation where we have to go back a year, 2 years, 6 months, 6 weeks, we can still find their more charts and their records. Just make sure all the boxes are ticked, and tick your include time and you include schedule time, and then you can run the report. What happens now is a more chart appears as if by magic, and on here we've got our lovely resident's photograph, we've got her allergies, and we've got her diagnosis. We've got all the details about our resident as well. Okay. Here we've got our note, and we're going to look at how to add a note in a moment. So Hannah likes to take her medication with a cup of tea. Please offer Anna her PRA medication as per her care plan. And here is our MAR chart. Now, as this is a demo site, obviously we've not given any medication. The S1 means it is scheduled to give 1 aspirin. Okay, if that says G1, that means 1's been given, and if there's an N in the box, it means that that's not been administered, and the reason should be there as well. To print off the MAR chart, you can just click on the print icon at the bottom of the screen, and your MAR chart will come through your printer. So just to refresh you on that, to get a MAR chart, we go on to e-reports, medication, medication administration record individual. Now, some homes also need to document their returns and ask for the pharmacy to sign their returns. So we go on to medication returned and destroyed. If we're doing it for the whole home, we take the resident's name out of there. Again, we need to see the medication that's being returned. And again, we just run our report. And obviously there's no data in this because this is a demo site. So we haven't returned anything in here, but you would be able to print off that report, give it to your pharmacy and they can sign it. You can then file it in your records. All these reports are well worth a look through. And again, please feel free to have a look around them, tests, PRN administry, lots and lots of information. But today's session is not just focusing on reports, we're looking through the whole system. So if you need to find a report about anything, always go on to this e-reports, medication, and choose the report you want. Okay, back to the home page. I'm now going to look at the next one on the line, which is Emar. This will always show us the scheduled medication rounds for the day. The first thing that we must check is that it's still our name at the top of the page, that we are on the correct day, and that we've got our schedules. We can filter this by units, or we can have the whole home. Let's just have a look at these three boxes here. On the hot list, if we click on that, that will show us any overdue orders or any follow-ups. So a follow-up will occur when we have documented that we need to go back and see that resident after we've given them the medication, and this is more around PRN medications. Here, this shows us a medication's overdue, and if you remember, I said this was a missing signature. Okay, so to amend this missing signature, I just click on the Peggy. It will take me back to the round that was missing, and I can here sign as administered or sign as not administered. Okay, it's important that all missing signatures are accounted for as either given or not given. This box here is the available PRNs for all clients. So if one of your residents needs a medication that's a PRN, you could just click on the available PRNs for all clients, and then you can just click on the resident and it will take you straight to their PRN medication, so you can administer it now. LOA for all clients is not very often used, but this is where we're going to put the clients on leave of absence. We can do this individually or we can do this as a whole home. I'm going to discuss that in a few moments with you. We now look below and we can see our 4 schedules, our morning, noon, afternoon and bedtime. And below each section we have got our schedule amount, which tells us we've got 22 clients and 248 medications to give. Administered. This will change as soon as we start giving the medication. So the scheduled will become less, the administered will populate more. This is now showing that all of our morning medications are overdue because we've said that it's going to start at 8 o'clock and our morning round will finish at 12. Now these will stay in overdue until we say that the medication has been given or not given. They're not administered. This doesn't mean that we haven't offered it to our resident. It means that we've offered it and they've refused the medication. So if we want to see which residents haven't had their medication, we can just click on "They're not administered." Self-administered, I think that's self-explanatory. But if we have residents that self-administered medication, if it's an inhaler, or if they self-administer all their medications, we can put them down as self-administered. The MAR chart will automatically populate and that will save your staff going in and signing for it every day. So that's the morning schedule. So how do I administer medication? If I go into the schedule amount, what will happen, excuse me, is all the photographs of your residents will populate here. As soon as we've administered the medication, their resident's photograph will disappear. All we do is click on the resident that's waiting for their medication, and here we can see the Christopher, his allergies, his diagnosis, his available PRNs. So if we click on that, it will just bring the 2 PRNs up there. So you can see the PRNs are normally kept at the bottom of the page. We can also see here the leave of absence. So if Christopher was out of the care setting, we can put him on a leave of absence starting today, the reason why, and when his expected time of arriving back in the care home is. If we do that, it will save the staff going in and documenting the MAR chart every single administration time for them. The system will automatically do that. Underneath this photograph, you will see hide details. And again, if we're away, we can just click on hide details. And it will hide all Christopher's medications. So if you're walking away and there's residents or relatives or inspectors around, you can hide the details so they can't have a look at what Christopher's taking. We've also got his notes here, and I can't stress how important the notes are. We have a lot of agency staff, we have a lot of new staff, we have staff that are not familiar with our residents. Now, you may know that Christopher takes his medication with a cup of tea. I wouldn't know that if I was coming in to administer the medications. So please think about the notes that you're putting on there and add a note. Again, I will show you how to do this in a few minutes. To administer the medication, we use this. This is our pop and dot. We can see here Christopher's previous admin history. And this will normally list the medication that's been given. So we would be able to see when he last had the medication or he last refused it, how many he had, the time and date, and who administered that medication for him. Here we can manage the order. So if we click on manage order and go to edit, this is where we can change anything. We can put it on a high alert if we want 2 signatures. We can document here if he self-administers. We can also change the time of day that he's given that medication, and to do that we would add a new give time. We can also change his medication to a PRN. We can see here our stock levels, so we can see 28 was administered, 28 has been received, 9 has been administered, and the on-hand quantity is 19. If we needed to change that, if this 19 has been discontinued and we needed to return it, all we do is put 19 into the returns box. The on-hand quantity now turns to 0, and we've actually returned 19 tablets. So no more returns box at the end of the month. We can do this as we go along. We would then stop and discontinue the medication accordingly, and it will always ask us to save all fields, and it will always ask us for a witness signature. To cancel that. Okay. That's our manage order. The inventory button tells us how much we have in stock, and what we're looking for is that inventory button always to be blue. If it's orange, it means that we're running out of stock, and if it's red, it means we've run out of stock. If you see this inventory button in orange, it is your responsibility to make sure that you've checked the medication, that you have got 19 physically in stock, and then you can amend it here, or you need to order that medication. Remember, it will go into your low stock warning on your dashboard. So let's have a look at administrating medication. So this is our pop and dot. We have an aspirin. What we would do is pop the aspirin out of the box into our Medipot and tick the button. We would go down, we would pop the atenolol out of the box into our Medipot, and we would tick the button. We would work down the list, doing exactly the same. Here's an example of where on the paracetamol, we're in a low stock. So you can see we've only got 10 in. It's warning us that we've got 10. And here you can see that we're in a minus figure. There's no way we can be in a minus figure. So we can't give that because we haven't got any medication. Okay. So just work down, ticking the boxes. He doesn't want any PRNs. What we're able to do then, and this is really important, is we should count how many tablets that we have in our Medipot against how many we've ticked the boxes against. Okay, so we can work down the list. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, some cream, 7, 1 paracetamol, 8, and I haven't got the penicillin because we know we've got no stock. I've got the thiamine. We would then go and offer the medication to Christopher, and if he's taken all the medication, when we come back, all we do is press this button here, administered all popped items. Once we've done that, what happens is the MAR chart will electronically say that the medication has been given, and Christopher's photograph will disappear from the scheduled meds round and goes onto the administered round. If Christopher hasn't taken one of his medication. At that point, we click on the sign as not administered. Now, warning may appear. You need to read that warning and check it. You can now see a drop-down box. We would then choose the reason for administration or for not administration here. And we also have an other. There's the opportunity to put an extra note in there. So Christopher on second or third attempt. Now, one thing to remember is if this medication is in our Medipot and it's going to be destroyed, we must document it as wasted. Okay, if we don't document it as wasted, it won't come off the inventory. All we do then is administer all popped items. A warning can come up like this, and this means that we've physically, on this one, it's asking for a witness. So again, you would need a witness to sign that. And on this one, the amount given has to be entered. Okay, that's fine. We would go back down and find the one that needs to be entered, which I can't find here. Here it is. Okay, we take it off there and then we can enter it. Sorry, I've gone onto the wrong one. Enter it here as we've given 1 to 2 puffs. So 1 to 2 puffs, we can give 2 puffs and we can save that. Okay. On the codeine, I'm just going to sign that as not administered because obviously this is a training site and I haven't got a witness with me today, so. Okay. Still asking me for a witness on the codeine. Okay. But basically, we would then administer all pop medications and then we would go back to our rounds. Okay. We can see here that now we've administered 1 client and we've given 8 medications. So back to our home page. So we've gone to our home page where we can change our password here. We've got our support button. We've got our announcements that we can add. We've then got our dashboard where we configure our widgets to see all our medication warnings. We've got our EAD2. Remember, admission, discharge and transfer. We've got our reports section. Where we find our MAR charts, our returns, and our orders. We've got our email, where we go to administer our daily meds, and the most important thing is to remember to check the date, because we can move it backwards and we can move it forwards. Okay. The next thing we're going to look at is the resident medication profile. To do that, we go onto this button here, our search client, top right hand corner. And we're going to look at Doreen's medication today. And click on Doreen's name. And here we see a lovely photograph of Doreen. To change the photograph or to update it, we just click on Update. And then we can browse our laptop or computer and choose the photograph. Here again, we can select when we want that to be reviewed. So to change the photograph, onto the medication profile. Okay. Now we're on our medication profile. Her photograph is on the left-hand side of the screen. And this is where we can add things for Doreen. As we can see here, nothing's been added. So now the first thing we're going to do is add a note. Just above Doreen's photograph, you will see Add to Martar Batch and Martar Notes. Click on the Martar Notes. Remember to select Doreen's name and then scroll down the page. Doreen's photograph should be on the left-hand side. Here we're going to select the prescriber. On the blue line, we're going to choose More Note. We can then choose how often we want this note to appear. And I know that Doreen has her medication 4 times a day, so I'm going to put it on 4 times a day. If we wanted to add a note on for a short period of time, we can choose here and put in 7 days, 2 days, 3 days. We need to do the start date. We need to change the time to fit in with one of our round times. And this is sometimes where people get a little bit confused because they put the time in that it is today's time, but always choose one of the times that are in this box. We can then add a note regarding Doreen. Go to the right hand side of the screen at the bottom, and we're going to add to more. A warning is going to come up. Are you sure you want to add this? Yes, I am. When we go back onto Doreen's medication profile now, we can see that note appears. And again, like I've said to you previously, the notes are really important for new staff that are giving med or staff that are not familiar with Doreen. The next thing we're going to do is add a medication. So for this, we just go above our photograph and add to Martar. Now, we only add a medication to the system if it doesn't come from our supplying pharmacy. So, for example, if it's from a mental health clinic, if she's a new resident and she's brought her medication into the care setting, or if you've sourced the medication from a local pharmacy, any other medication that's being delivered would be in our received orders. And we're going to have a look at that in a moment. So, how do I add a medication? We go on to the resident's profile, add to Martar, and then this template appears. So we're going to add, click on the blue line, because we want it to appear to our MAR, and everything goes on the MAR. We're then going to search our medication. To do that, we tap in the name and then we search. Every single paracetamol form will appear. So it's our responsibility to make sure that we have got the right medication, the right form and the right strength. And for this training, I'm just going to go on to Boots paracetamol capsules. A warning now appears telling me to check the allergies. So I know that here, she's got no allergies to any medication. So I can press OK. The system will now populate certain parts of the boxes. The total dispensed amount is how many we have physically got. Let me say 100. The frequency, this is how often she takes it. And for this example, we're going to put at bedtime. The system will automatically choose the bedtime time, but you can change this. The dose amount in unit is how many she has. So at bedtime, I know she has 2. And she has tablets. The duration will leave blank unless it's a short course. The route of administration is PO, and that's oral. We want this to start today, and we're going to change this to 12 o'clock. Oh no, sorry, she's at bedtime, so we're going to change it to 8 o'clock at night. We want to add this to the Martar, and then in the directions, we're going to write what's on the box. So wait. Okay. We want it to be in our received orders. Now, if Dora was taking this herself, we could tick the self-administration box. And if it was a CD, we would tick the high alert, and that would ensure that we had a witness. This medication has come from our out-of-hours pharmacy, and we're going to add it to our now. A warning is going to come up, and if I'd not completed one of the sections, it would ask me to go back and complete. But this is saying, are you sure you want to send this to received orders? Yeah, I am. Okay. Now, if you're thinking of this as a paper mar chart, all we've done is written out our paper mar chart. It won't appear on the resident's profile because we haven't booked it in. Where do I go to book in the medications? Well, let's go back to our home page. Emar. Orders. Received orders new. And there's Doreen's. These are all the other medications that's waiting to be booked in. What I have to do is put in Doreen's name in the search box, and that will just filter, just so I can see Doreen's medication. And then validate it. And this is the way the system checks that old MAR chart against the new MAR chart. And again, we can see now the system has recognised that this is a new medication for Doreen. New order review. We need to click on this box now, and here we can see exactly what I've put into the system. So this is for Doreen. We've got her Boots paracetamol 500 tablets. It's at 8 o'clock, and we want it to start tonight, Wednesday 27th And this S2, we're going to have 2 scheduled to be given. At this point, I can either go back and check her medication profile. I can edit the order if I've made something an error, if I've done something wrong, or I can confirm the new order. I'm going to confirm the new order. You can now see that the box has turned green. To put this medication in, I go over to the left-hand side, tick the box, and confirm the new order, and then I receive it. What it will ask me for is a witness signature. Okay, so now I have to go and get my witness to put their short name, their username, and their password in. Okay. Only at that point, when that has been confirmed and we've got our witness and it's been booked in, so again, I've checked it, and the person that's witnessed it has checked all the details. They've just not gone in and ticked the box and said yes. They've checked all the details thoroughly. They've checked the amount. They've checked that it's 2 at night. Checked the dosage details are correct. At that point, they can witness it, sign it, and that's when it will go into their medication profile. Okay, so let's just go through that once more. We go to our home page. We go to Emar. We go to orders. And we go to received orders new. And here's all the medication that is waiting to be booked in. It's important that you just put the resident's name in here, so it just filters for the person. You can then validate it. A warning is going to come up for you to go in and check that it's correct. Yes, I'm checking. We can confirm the new order. Go over to the left-hand side and tick the box. We can receive it, and that's when it's going to ask us for a witness. Okay. So, if we then go onto our home page again, if we want to look into anybody's medication profile, we go into the search client. We can look at any resident. Photographs there. Barry doesn't look too happy. We can then go on to the medication profile. Here we can see Barry's allergies, his diagnosis, and a list of his notes and the medication that's due to be given. Again, if I needed to change anything, I can go onto the Manage Order button, I can edit it, and I can change anything I need to here, but it will ask you for a witness. One final thing I need to show you and get asked a lot is, how do I do a PRN protocol? Same way as we do the notes, so going to Barry's medication profile, we're going into Mark our notes. We find Barry's name. We scroll down the page. We fill in the prescriber. This time we're going to do PRN protocol. Now, if Barry hasn't got any PRNs, there won't be a protocol to add. So to find that out, we just click on the search button here. We can see that he has got double base and lactulose that both need a PRN protocol. You would tick on the one that you want to do and change the review date, and we fill in the template. So the reason for administration is Barry takes those the dose. You can always go back and check the dose. So it's 10 to 15 mils twice a day. The minimum time between, well, he's having this twice a day. And the maximum dose, so he can have 30 mils, he can have 60 mils, 30 mils, sorry, when required. Special instructions. Outcome. Side effect. To refer to the prescriber. So basically, if you've got PRN protocols on paper at the moment, you can copy and paste that onto here. You then go down to add to the more now. It will again come up with a warning. And say OK. And when we go back into his medication profile, there's his PRN. Now, the good thing about this system is that the PRN will appear before we give that medication as a PRN. So again, there's no more paper PRN profiles to carry around. This will automatically come up. Staff can read that. It can be amended. It can be changed. Once they've read it, they can then proceed and give the PRN medication. So just to review that once again, we're on Barry's medication profile. We go into mark our notes. We tick Barry's name. We go down the screen. And on this section, we choose PRN protocol. We can then search for the PRN protocol that we want to add. And then we just fill in the template accordingly. Okay. So that is the first session on the basics of the Emar system. Does anybody have any questions? My director is saying no, but if you feel that you have a question to ask that I've not answered on this first session, please feel free to contact me at Helen Berridge at prime-life.co.uk, and I've got my telephone number. But I'm sure you all know where to contact me. I'd like to thank you all for joining today, and I hope you found this session useful. Thank you. Bye.